But before we start, if you can just shortly introduce yourselves, what you do, your background.
Duke, would you like to start?
Yeah, I mean, my name's Duke. I've been in the e-commerce space for 20 years. Mostly, I'm just a sales guy, but I like to think that I'm good at it. My passion is helping people, especially helping people with their businesses, making them grow, and looking for those opportunities that they don't know about, right? What are those little changes that we can make that make it a big impact? That's what it's all about. And every time you do one of those, it's like a win, right? It's as good as selling it, signing a deal. Helping people make more money makes you make more money and everybody's happy. That's kind of what I'm here for.
Hi, my name is Arny. I've been doing e-commerce for the past 25 years. Pretty much have been around since the early days of e-commerce, before the world of Shopify, before the big commerce. There was open source software called OS Commerce, and so we were back in the day building solutions for something that was just brand new and it hasn't existed, and it's been just exponentially growing bigger and bigger every year. And it amazes me how much more I don't think we've ever seen a plateau in e-commerce. It's always just been on the rise. And then with the recent AI, it's like completely changed the game all over again. So we're back in this extreme boom of opportunities and just amazing growth. And yeah, I'm just excited to be on the ride. It's a really fun ride.
The field of DTC is always changing. There are new ways of distribution, new channels to get customers, right? New technologies, trends are changing all the time. What have you seen in the last year that really, every month is really moving fast and there's new things every month. But what did you see in the last few months, let's say, that really made a difference that merchants cannot ignore? That they have to have that on the store, if they want to stay competitive.
I mean, the elephant in the room is obviously the rapid growth of AI. It's undeniable. And a lot of people see AI, the uneducated see AI as a threat, and the educated see AI as a partner. So it doesn't mean that the people who are afraid of losing their jobs, it's not warranted. It's just a matter of, well, it's another tool. And so if you know how to use the tool and become an expert with that, you could leverage it. And then you become a skilled person using that tool. So if anything has been the big one, I would say the AI, but it's not just sales. It's also helping you find opportunities, right? So to Duke's point, when we do a video or when we go after something that has virality, we're looking for anything that has opportunity, right? Almost like performing like a mini SWOT analysis on what we're about to do. Not to get too nerdy on it, but threats, opportunities. So when we try to identify it, leaning on AI could be a great partner for that. Like, hey, here's a bunch of inputs, here's what we see. And then we start to ask it questions like maybe we didn't see something or perhaps we missed something. So it helps us kind of fill in the gaps. It's a great thought leader.
People are focusing a lot on customer acquisition, right? And that's always a priority and it's very expensive and there's a lot of tools and trends out there, but they're missing the conversion and retention that you've talked about. What are some of the practices that are in the store itself to help convert, help retain, that merchants should use, that you've used, that you've seen success?
Honestly, it's a combination of things, but being very clear is going to be very effective. Okay. So understanding a pain point, understanding that you've identified a pain and you're trying to help them move away from that pain. And that thing that you're doing to move them away from is your product or service. That is the solution. This is the remedy, right? So being a very good storyteller, someone who could communicate that and walk them through the process, guide them and give them you want to be as frictionless as possible, make it less friction. So removing all frictions from a process, the buying journey, will give you the best result. So to get granular, you have to constantly audit your own work over and over and over again. Never sit on your laurels, you cannot be complacent. In the world of CRO, it's constantly evolving. There is such a thing as best practices, but there is also such a thing as like, well, what is the exact thing that makes your website tick? It's not the same for everybody, so it does require that micro lens to look into it. You know, there is more to be said about this, and there's things within our control, such as the world of the web. There's also things that are not in our control, such as big e-commerce that we could learn from, such as Amazon. And Duke could probably weigh in on that. But even within the bigs, there's still ways that we can do the best that we can to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I think about it, I mean, I'm always thinking about conversion rates, right? That's my biggest thing is like, and what really drives conversion is getting value added content that is clear, like Arny said to his point, but also what's becoming abundantly clear is the more that a consumer can engage with a brand or a product digitally, the more likely they are to purchase. So we have to create ultimately an experience when they're on the site. We don't want to overwhelm them with too many clicks, this, that, and the other. We want to keep them on the page, but we want to keep that engagement level high. So being able to go through a carousel, watch a video, any things of that nature will create the result that you're looking for. But it's also about never settling, right? Like I've identified that this creates a great conversion rate, but we need to test A, B, and C next to see if we can get even more out of it. We always got to look for how do we get that little bit more, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we experiment. And AI is a great tool for experimenting with things like that.
Which one is that?
See cover solutions.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So bringing them into the store in masses and then converting them through personalization, through unique experiences in the store.
Experience. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, still at the end of the day, you do have to have a good product that people find value in, right? That's
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
Reviews matter more than anything. Reviews are like gold today, right? If I have
Mm-hmm.
a great product and I have the right strategy, I'm going to be successful. If I have a great product and I don't have the right strategy, I'm going to be spinning my wheels trying to figure out what to do. But that's where experts like us come into play, right? If you reach out to Gen7 and you want that traffic and you want that experience, well, we're going to make it happen, right? It's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
And let's talk a bit about data. What are some of the ways that you use data in combination with the marketing activities that you do, the tools that you have in the store? How do you use that to back the next steps and to continue growing?
Okay. So let's say well, let me take a step back. I think that the first place you have to start with is an irresistible offer. Something has to be irresistible, right? It can't just be something that you're already selling. It must be something where it screams so much value that you really don't have a choice because it's so good. Okay. And once you have that irresistible offer, then you have a foundation for where you're going to let it ride and then let the data come in and start to analyze how that's going. So let's say we start off with like Duke said, a banger video that has got the irresistible offer. It's got the right formula and it is already going viral, right? The experience that leads the person from, let's say, a Facebook ad to the either landing page or the homepage, depends on where you want to go for that, or the offer. All of those things are just trickling in a bunch of data, right? I mean, we're just getting so much data coming in. Now, we have to be able to interpret that data, right? So what's more important, a high conversion rate or revenue per session or more sales, right? So once you identify the vanity, once you remove vanity from it, because a conversion rate is vanity, okay? We have to see what's the ultimate objective. So understanding what the objective is. Like some people just want to see hits and awareness coming in. Their long-term play might be to be acquired by a company. So having a lot of traffic and a lot of hits and a lot of visitors, that might be their objective. But identifying the objective, pair that with your irresistible offer. You got to have some good software tools in there. So we do use A/B testing software to split test what we're going to get. And then the data is going to speak to us. Now, there's the old school method is to analyze the data yourself, take a look at what happened, see if there was a drop off. Really, the biggest thing is to like, where's the drop off from the funnel, right? Did they get to the site and then they leave? Okay, well, what's that? That's a bounce rate. Did they get to the site and add to cart and then they left? Okay, so where's that? and get all the way down and then basically look for ways to fix things. Now, I say that's the old method because you have to spend a lot of time analyzing the data. The new method is, again, context. This is what we're doing. I'm talking about prompting the AI. This is what we're doing. This is what happened. This is where it's at. How can we improve it? Is there something that maybe we didn't think about? Are there any hidden patterns? Okay. As a human being, I'm sure we've got things that we rely on from history, from our upbringing, from education. So we have natural patterns that we were going to think about, right? AI doesn't have feelings. It doesn't care. So it might look for patterns that you just didn't see. And those patterns is what can unlock bigger opportunity with revenue or with objective that we said. So I use data probably a little bit different than most people, but it's I think it's part of our secret sauce, and it's how we interpret it and how we move on there. And then we've got video data. So to that end, Duke, I mean, what kind of crazy ways are we using video data to pivot?
I mean, the video data tells you the story, right, about what's going to work. I mean, it's about you go and you do 15 videos for a brand 1 month, and you're identifying and you're using AI to help you identify trends. Which of these videos perform best and why is what you're looking to identify. Once you've done that, you can repeat, repeat, repeat. But also you're testing what are the different offers. Like Arnie said, you have to have an irresistible offer. Well, I've got an irresistible offer for everybody watching this. I'll tell you at the end. But I'm a sales guy. What am I supposed to do? But but ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about when you create the videos, you create them with a mission, and that mission is your goal, right? You're going to get the results back from the video, the views, the likes, the engagement, where they're going. You got to track where they're going, where they're buying, what they're buying. And once you have all the data, you're able to identify brand X. This video worked exceptionally well for it. And we start tailoring down and narrowing the type of videos that we're creating towards what their consumer type is looking for. And like Arnie said, back in the day, that would be extremely difficult, right? We're doing all this manual review with spreadsheets and stuff like that. I can plug it into ChatGPT and it's going to tell me, this is actually what you need to do. And I can agree or disagree, but it's going to make the direction abundantly clear. And so that's how we leverage it for that, right?
How many, from your experience, how many videos is a brand does a brand need to do to understand what goes viral? Like, what were your ranges?
So it really depends on the brand, right? And it depends on how on the mark your content is. We have brands like first 3 videos go viral. We have brands the first video goes viral. We have brands it takes 30 to 40 videos to go viral. Because all about identifying what that consumer wants to see. And ChatGPT makes it so that within 90 days, we're pretty much almost 100% sure we can get you a viral video. Like I would put
90
money.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it happens a lot quicker, sometimes it's later. But it also depends on the strength of the brand. Is the consumer aware of your brand? Are they in the market for that brand? Is it a new product that's really hard to explain and we have to figure out that, right? So there's a lot of different things that are involved with identifying what video to produce and where to put it and how to put it and the offer to create. But ultimately, within 90 days, you should be looking at least one viral video, if not more.
What are some of the things that you use to make sure, the ads fit the emails and the emails fit the landing pages? Because you don't want them to, get out of the process.
Yeah. So now we're basically talking about the brand or the journey, right? The time it takes someone to make a decision to purchase really depends on the item. I like to think of certain kind of things of the I don't really care, it's not going to hurt me, break the bank kind of mentality. That's certain kind of products. And then there's the one that requires a little bit more thought process where it makes a little bit more of a decision, like, hey, let me check with my significant other, or let me see if we can I afford it or whatever. So it's like, there's two things that happens when someone makes a purchase decision. You've got the emotional side of your brain and your logical side, right? As a marketer, we try to appeal to the emotional side for sure, but we also have to lean in on some logical things. Now, what's a logical thing? offering payment options as an example. That's logical. Like, hey, this is a $200-300 item, but we now offer shop pay and you can split that up in 4 payments. Okay, so that appeals to my logical. The emotional side is where we talk about, you know, all the benefits and the amazing things that this product solves for you. That's the emotional side. So we have to be very careful that the logical brain is satisfied, but that the emotional brain is overwhelmingly satisfied and like, oh, I'm gonna purchase with passion. But as far as the journey goes, yeah, we do have a lot of tools in our stack. Emails, there's pop-ups, thoughtful pop-ups, not annoying ones. There's support and chat. There's chat bots. So we do have a lot of things that are
AI chatbots. Yeah.
AI chatbots.
AI
Let's go ahead and plug in Rep AI chatbot real quick. So yeah, I mean, we leverage all of our tools, and then going back, we also revisit our tech stack. That's another thing I'm going to just say to anybody who's listening: check your tech stack. Don't leave it rogue. You know, we believe heavily in surveys, exit intent surveys, post-purchase surveys. There's a lot that we could get from the customers. You know, like, hey, what stopped you from buying today? Or let's say they purchased. Why did you buy today? Like, so that answers 2 questions. If somebody leaves and we have an exit intent, which is another part of our tech stack, what stopped you from buying? Your price was too much. I didn't like your shipping. I was just browsing. I'm not ready to make a purchase. All this information is going to be really, 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 really useful, because we could take that information and revisit our website and say, did we address this? Is that in our FAQs? Did we have that in our copywriting? And for the other side of the coin, why did you purchase today? I saw a review. Ooh, maybe we need more reviews. Or your AI chatbot was very helpful, so thank you for that. And then we say, hey, let's lean into that. So ask more questions. I think it's a very powerful thing that we can do, is ask more questions. And so put that back into the stack. I hope I answered the question.
Definitely. But in terms of like using multiple tools to kind of make sure that they're aligned throughout the process, but you're still collecting data and making sure that you're kind of doubling down on what works, right? And removing what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Basically.
Double down on what works, but never be satisfied.
That's right.
Definitely.
That's right. I agree with that statement. That is 100% true. Don't sit on your laurels.
How do you use personalization in any of these with any of these stacks, and how do you use that? What did you see success in these stacks?
So from personalization, you can only personalize so much unless you're giving them the control of personalizing, right? So if we're talking about personalizing a product, then that would be one thing. Or let's say in email marketing, we are sending out an email. You know, every once in a while, we will personalize the email with some relevant data points. And even email is getting more and more sophisticated. Like tools like Klaviyo is getting very sophisticated. But just by saying someone's name, or just by saying, you know, if we know, let's say you've given us this information and this is something that was shared with us. Let's just say you're from California. We could say, hey, we could target you based on where you are too. Say, hey, come join us. We're going to be in Los Angeles today, for example. Like, hey, Osnat, meet us here. So we've personalized that. Product personalization, you know, right before COVID hit, the prediction that year was that personalization was going to take over e-commerce. I remember that was the beginning of the year, personalization. And I was so excited about that because I thought to myself, man, this is so true. If you put your name on something, you're a lot more connected to the item. And a big company that does that very well is Apple. If you buy an iPad right now or any one of their devices, they will offer you free personalization, get your name on it. If I have something with my name on it, you know, let's say I have this Stanley Cup, but it actually said my name on it, I might be less likely to return it, and I might be more excited to show it off. It's very smart. And Apple doesn't charge for that, believe it or not. But as far as personalization and how we use it, I mean, if we use data to help us identify who our target audience is, for example, like in the world of, let's say one of the brands, we know that they're a Gen X audience, okay? If we know that that audience is Gen X and we identify what matters to them, and we know that the majority, okay, we can't satisfy every single person. The website doesn't morph to who you are. I mean, at least not yet. But if the majority of the people that come to our website are Generation X, we know that, they're independent thinkers, that they are, raised by the baby boomers, that they have a certain amount of income, that they're a certain age, so we know that if we were to use that information and put it right back to them, it's the conversation they're already having in their head. And that is a very powerful way to use personalization to that end, where we know
Mhm.
the target audience well. Micro personalization would be like, hey, make it yours, put your name on it, or let's engrave something, or we'll print something special for you. Even a custom note is personalized, right? Like add a gift note or gift message. So yeah.
Tell us a bit about one of the things people like to hear is how other merchants mess up like them. Tell us some of the things you get. You start with a new brand. You start working with a new merchant. They come to you. What are the things that you're seeing that they're not doing well usually?
I mean, it ranges the gamut, right? Usually, I mean, I think the number one thing people do is they end up focusing too much on the product. They focus too much on the product and don't focus on actually selling the product. I'm super excited because I created this really cool thing. I love it. I think it's awesome. But that's great if you think it's awesome, but does everybody else know it's awesome? And how are you telling them? How are you telling that story? And where do you start? A lot of people get overwhelmed because they don't know where to start. Maybe they heard about this Google PPC thing, or maybe they heard about this social thing, or maybe they heard about this Amazon thing. And those are kind of like the different thoughts of like where I could go. But where should you actually start? So usually it's mismanagement of actually knowing the first step to take, and so they might take the first step of going to Amazon, but it's like your brand isn't ready for that. Or the first step is going on social media, but you have no concept of how to create content. So I think every brand's where their miss is changes depending upon the brand and the experience that the person who created the brand has. So it's our job to come in there and say, hey, you do have an awesome product. Good job. You created something awesome. But the reason your sales aren't where they are to be, where they need to be, is because you haven't put the right time, energy, and attention into focusing on how you're driving traffic and where the best route to drive traffic to your brand is. So it's always fluctuating based off the client.
So I think it goes without saying that the opportunity for us is when the merchants have a miss, because
Yeah.
that's what we come in to fix. And sometimes it could be one lever, or it could be a collection of a bunch of levers that we can pull until we get it to the point where it's like, okay, we've unlocked this puzzle. Now enjoy your avalanche of sales. And at the end of the day, that's what people really love, is a good amount of sales coming through.
Yeah, what's some opportunities on the tech side stuff? People say not did you get into a merchant and then they don't do any meta, they don't do any
Sure.
social media
Most
Yeah.
definitely.
ads? Is that still happening
Oh yeah.
these days?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah. A lot of B2B don't really engage in social that much. They're kind
Yeah.
of relying on their connections there. Um, but
You have,
but I will say this. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you do have some different categories that are still super old school, right? And they
Uh-huh.
don't lean into social or they don't lean into Amazon. Like the home category as an example has shied away from that for years. They're starting to
Mm.
get to that point, but they've always traditionally relied on traditional retail and like, people buy and sell wherever they want. But now they're starting to lean into, oh, I have so much more opportunity if I do social, if I do Amazon, if I do whatever and make it my own and I own it. And then I dictate what my brand looks like out there, which is and highly valuable, but I also dictate where that traffic goes. Where do I want to send people and how am I sending them there? So, y- you know, just in
Yeah.
general. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still shocked that Home Goods don't have a website that you can buy at. Just saying.
It drives
Yeah,
my wife
but
crazy.
did, did you see the TikTok trend on Home Goods lately, where people go into the store with all the random stuff that they
Yes,
have and they make these
yes,
skits?
I have. It's hilarious. I love it.
I actually went during the holidays. We went to Home Goods recently, and I remember that those skits were happening at that time. And one thing I noticed, because my wife drags me into these Home Goods, um, how crowded it was. Like
Yeah.
it was really, really crowded. So these TikTok videos that went viral that brought people into the store, it worked. And I saw it firsthand. I said, "Oh my God," and I was looking around to see if anybody was filming. Like I was hoping that someone was filming these random objects and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, it could be a thing that you only retail and no, only physical and no digital at all. It could be a thing.
There's, you know, I don't have an actual count of how many businesses there are in the United States, but it always pleasantly surprises me when you've got an old school business that's successful and has been running for so many years. A lot of, here's a good example. Engineering companies that have created contract work for like government contracts or any kind of large, they don't do any advertising, but yet they're making millions of dollars. And
Yep.
then, you always hear this thing like, well, my son's going to take over this company and he says we need a website. We're like, yeah. Or my daughter's taking over this, she says we need to have social media. So like you hear these things and then you find out that they're making millions of dollars. You're like, God, do you want more money? Because just do that, and make more. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, it
They
never
build a
ceases to
name,
amaze me.
right? They build a
Yeah,
name and reputation, and based on that, at some point.
correct.
Yeah. So these, not necessarily these, old school businesses, but businesses that are on Shopify, let's say today, that want to get into AI. They hear about AI. It's everywhere. You cannot ignore it. No
No.
way. How would you recommend for merchants that are scared and overwhelmed with all the AI out there to start integrating that into their store? In what way? What would be a good start to make sure that it works?
I would like to lean into Rep AI, just to put it out there. So I discovered Rep AI about a year ago, maybe maybe a little bit
Mhm.
over a year ago. And it came at a time when the buzzword of AI was just starting to become more mainstream, like TikTok, you got a whole bunch of people, micro influencers talking about AI and this and that. And it might have been an ad that caught my attention from Rep AI, but the fact that your platform allowed me to onboard the AI in a kind of like a gradual way without like overwhelmingly complicated, it really opened up my eyes to the potential of e-commerce, like potential that we're in e-commerce, but the potential of what it could do. It really, really opened my eyes. And I thought to myself that it wasn't hard. Okay. Typically, there's a lot of technophobes out there where they're just afraid of technology. They don't want to touch it. They're scared. Okay. So I will just be the one that's saying this, that the onboarding process that I had with Rep AI was so easy. And yes, I consider myself an advanced user on many levels of AI now, but on many levels of e-commerce. But it was just so easy and refreshing that the onboarding was so delightful, is the word I'm going to use. And I was able to walk through it and set it up. And I think I did a pretty quick job. I set it up in like 15 minutes the first time I tried it. And so now I could probably do it in less time, but I will say this: once you've set it up, the real magic happens when you start to train it and get better data for it. But it's a no-brainer. So if anybody's going to be doing e-commerce and they don't have a support staff or they don't have a salesperson that can work after hours or weekends, then definitely I would consider at the very least Rep AI for the starting point.
Wow, thank you for that. That was I did not pay you to say that right now.
I definitely was not paid. No.
Before I knew about this webinar, I can't tell you how many times Arnie went on and on about Rep AI. I was still trying to figure out what he was talking about, and then he showed me. I was like, "Oh, okay, now I get you." So,
So can you tell us about some, if we're on that, some aha moments for merchants that did not expect to have the results from that, and say, what is
Sure.
that, right? Some aha moments.
I'll give you two. So it's not an aha moment, it's doubt and then saying, why did I doubt it? So those are the two things that happens. Okay, so we had a client that we onboarded with Rep AI, and this is the best part of it because at the time that he came to us, he said, I'm not satisfied with our search feature on the website.
Mm.
Search, everybody knows search, right? Now, why does search even exist for some website? This goes a little deeper into CRO now, but we won't go down that path. I don't want to go on a tangent, but you use search if the website wasn't easy to navigate on its own because you were trying to find something and you couldn't find it, so you went to search.
Yep.
Search tells me, and I'm not talking about Google search, I'm talking about the actual search in the website.
Yep.
Search tells me that there's a level of intent that they're either going to get what they're looking for or they're going to leave. Plain and simple, right?
Yep.
So the client came to us and said, I'm not really happy with the search. I don't think it's doing a good job. And I knew at that moment, I was going to tell him about Rep AI. And so I said, hey, I have an idea. You've got a very interesting catalog. Not so easy for the general user to use. And even if they use your search, you're right, it's not so easy. I said, but imagine having this very smart assistant that lives on your website, doesn't take lunch breaks, and is always available, that can answer the question specifically. Would that interest you? And he said, I'm willing to give it a try. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we installed it, and this almost every single time this is going to happen, and I have a perfect squash for this. He says to me, I noticed that the AI has been generating sales and has been helping the customers and stuff. How do I know that the sale wasn't going to happen anyways? That's the first one that always happens, right? And I said to him, I said, have you looked at the chats that's actually coming in? So one of the Rep AI's cool features is the chat. You could actually watch the conversations that people were having. I said, did you learn anything from any of the chats? And he says, actually, yes, I did. I said, okay, so let's hold on to that for just a second. I said, you had a few orders that was like 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. that was credited to Rep AI. Do you think maybe that the AI actually did a good job in, motivating that person at that time to make a purchase? He's like, possibly. I said, well, how about this? You're getting data when they purchase, but you're also getting data when they don't purchase. And Rep AI is exposing both, which I love because I talked about earlier that I like to survey, why did you leave and what made you buy? Rep AI is giving that in real time. So if somebody abandons, and even though, yes, Rep AI has tools to, avoid abandonment, which is definitely helpful, data. The data is the byproduct of Rep AI that you're going to get. So to answer your question, would they have purchased anyways? Maybe, but do you know why? Yes, you do know why, because Rep AI is giving you both sides of the coin. And that's why it's maybe they were going to make that purchase and maybe they weren't, but you're smarter because of it now. And that ends it every single time. Every single time.
Amazing.
Second example, we have a salesperson on C-Cover Solutions. Amazing salesperson. Definitely better than AI. I will have to give this proud human being a much better job than AI. But he's got work hours. He's only there from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. After hours, he's not able to. Listen, he has a life. He has wife, kids. He has to go home. That's when Rep AI kicks in and just closes the gap. So even though maybe during the day, his track record of closing better deals, higher deals is much better, much stronger, Rep AI is getting in the rest of it. So that to me is an amazing arm to have as your tech stack. Yes.
That's amazing. That's so great to hear. So what is, you look at AI today in general, what's next in AI in e-commerce? What's coming? I mean, it's moving so fast, isn't it? Like every month is like what used to be a year or even more. What's next in AI?
I hate to say what's next because it kind of even scares me a little bit. But did you see that movie Minority Report?
Of course.
Of course. Duke, you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it, man.
So you remember that one scene where Tom Cruise walks into, I think it was the Gap, and it scanned his eyes, and immediately he saw an ad that was tailored to him. He could see what he looks like in the outfit. Everything was there. I'm not saying that I think it's going to go that route, but I could see websites in the future offering a dynamic personalization. So it kind of alludes to what you were saying earlier, but I do believe that if let's say on Amazon, I don't have to worry about my credit card being stored, it's secure, it's there, it's making my life easier. I could see a future passport, right? Like an internet passport where it's got all the information that I'm saying is okay to know, okay? And that I get to a website through a token of some sort. And now, because it knows me, the website morphed to become me. right? Hey, Arnie,
Mm.
good to see you up early at this time. Would you like to see this and that? We know that your favorite color is blue. We know that your favorite food is this, you know? I could see that happening in the future. It's a scary time, but let's look to the leaders out there. What's Amazon doing when you get to their homepage? I guarantee you your homepage is going to be different than my homepage and different than Duke's homepage. Amazon's already doing these right in front of our eyes. It's happening right in front of us. This hyper personalization that I think is going to happen in the future with this sort of like passport, if you will. I don't think we're too far away from that. I really don't.
I think
But that's my thoughts.
Exciting.
I think we could also see it when you go to a website, you go to Amazon or anything like that, you have this passport concept. Let's say you're checking out a pair of jeans, boom, instantly pops up a picture of you in those jeans. You look good,
there.
want them? I'm buying them right now. Oh, wait, there's the irresistible offer if I get 20% off just because I'm Duke. I'll take it, you know?
So, but there is going to be a time, I think, where there's going to be a little too much. Okay.
Mhm.
So I love to drive cars. I actually love to drive the car. Now, there are some people who want to be driven and
Yeah.
are happy to be, you know, a passenger. That part of our brains where we want to feel like we're in control, at some point, I think we're going to have that coming to a conclusion with AI and how we really feel. Do we
Mhm.
really want to have a world where everything is automated for us and we don't do anything? I think it's going to create a bunch of lazy people and a bunch of just thoughtless things. I don't even know if you want to call them that anymore. But, you know, there's something to be said. So Duke, you know, he rides motorcycles. Would you ever want to be on the back of a motorcycle, Duke, or always the one driving it, riding the motorcycle? Yeah, see, look at that face.
The only person going on the back of my motorcycle is you or my wife.
No. He's talking about you, Osnat, not me. So at some point, we're going to want to feel like we're in control. So
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a race to get to this hyper automation, hyper personalization. And then there's going to be a place where we're like, okay, cool it. We want to make our own decision at the end of the day, you know?
Mhm.
It's our free will is kind of like our own. How do you want to feel today? You
Yeah.
know, don't tell me how I want to feel today. I want to feel something today. So I think it's going to be a race, and then we're going to taper back to like give us that control back a little bit because we're not going to like it. It's going to be too much.
Too much.
So
Yeah.
too much is not good.
With anything, there has to be a balance, right? That's what
Bingo.
it is.
Yeah.
Bingo.
We're still humans. We want to feel human. We want to feel that we're in control. That's a good saying. I mean, we need the control of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, going back to Rep AI, just because I mean we were on the topic, I do like the aspect where there is a level of my input, like human in the middle, and I do like that where, hey, you said something wrong, but your AI prompts us to say, if I said something wrong, please correct me. I want to get it right.
Yeah.
I'm eager to get it right. I don't want to get it wrong, and I love that aspect of it. So
Yeah, you still feel in control.
oh
of
yeah,
the AI. Yeah, definitely. Great. Thank you so much. That was such a great conversation and learned a lot. I think we can continue the talk for another hour, but we're at the time. And where can the listeners, viewers find you guys?
So they can go to gen7digital.com. Like I said, I do have an irresistible offer. So anybody who does reach out to me via email, you have a brand or a service you want a viral video for, we'll create one for free. The only thing I require is you set an appointment with me because I want to learn more about it and what you want to do.
Great, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
our pleasure. Thank you.
Great talk.
Your time as well.
Wonderful. Talk soon.
All right, take care.
Bye. Thank you.